Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our second Hangout on Air for the CSP4HS MOOC. So I'd like to first introduce our co-host for today. Deepa Muralidhar is with us, and she'll be helping to arrange the questions off of Piazza back to our speakers. So before we get started, I'd like to mention a few of the upcoming speakers. So next Tuesday, we'll have Andy Kimmel and Melissa Raspberry will be talking about some of the community practice sites that are available for CS principals. So that's really helpful to be able to navigate and find resources for CS principals, the curriculum framework, performance task descriptions, some of the curriculum modules, and other things that will be coming out in lesson 1.5. So make sure you join us next Tuesday for that, for a live session. And then we're really happy to announce that on July 16th, we'll have Jeff Kramer from Imperial College of London coming to give a special talk on abstraction. So you all will read that paper right after the holiday break, and Jeff will be the guest speaker for that particular week. So we're wrapping up Unit 1. A lot of comments. I think we've had over 1,800 posts just this week, so I know it's been really overwhelming in tracking some of the Piazza posts, but make sure you turn your digests on and then go check out Tony's talk from Tuesday about how to control your mail on that. So please keep the great comments coming. I've learned a lot myself. And we're wrapping up lesson 1.5. I'm heading to Chicago right after this and hope to upload that from a hotel room somewhere in Chicago. So be checking that out over the weekend. We'll move over to Unit 2. We'll be talking about bits and bytes and data and representation. Okay, so Deepa, our co-host, will be helping to coordinate the messages from Piazza again. So Deepa's with the Atlanta Girls School and has been with CS Principals for 4 or 5 years now, and is also on the development committee. So you all get to know Deepa if you haven't already seen some of her posts and comments on the MOOC. So I'd like to first introduce Lynn Diaz. She's a senior director with the College Board with the AP program and curriculum and content development, and heading up all the CS Principals work. And Fran is with us also. She's co-chair of the CSP Development Committee. She's also director of undergraduate introductory instruction at Rutgers University. And Owen Astrachan is with us. Owen's the professor of practice of computer science at Duke University. He's the director of undergrad studies at Duke, and he's also the PI of the NSF-funded CS Principals pilot program. So I'm not sure which of the three of you would like to kick it off first. Maybe Lynn, if you want to maybe say some words first, and then we'll follow through with Fran and Owen, and just some general comments on CS Principals, however you want to introduce that, and then we'll have some questions I'm sure that are already starting to come out on Piazza that I see. So Lynn, can you kick us off, please?
Sure. Okay, so I've been at the College Board for about 8 years now and have been working on the development of computer science principles for about 7 of those years. So this is really exciting. I think we're coming down to, the last phase, or one of the last phases of course launch. So there's still lots of work to do, but very, very excited to have, reached this point. I think what I want to do is, say a few words about the course and the development of the course, and then, turn it over to the other experts on the Hangout today. I want to say that since before the development of the course, there were some major issues that were discussed between the College Board and the National Science Foundation, mainly because they approached us and were very interested in partnering up to address some of these concerns. But there were other organizations as well that were involved, CSPA, NCWIT, ACM. There's probably other organizations that I'm leaving out. At this point, I don't need to do that, but I just want to say that there were lots of folks involved in the development of this course. And so we got together, and some of the issues that we discussed are probably, not surprising, but I think it's good to point out because these are the things that we're trying to address with the course. One was, the issue of low enrollment in computer science majors. I mean, I think I've heard recently there are a few colleges that, may currently be seeing an increase in CS majors, but my sense is that that's not really widespread yet. The second was there was poor participation in among women and minority students. Of those that were studying computer science, there were very few females and underrepresented students. So, we learned that this issue really exists in K-16 education. We also know it exists in industry, which leads to the third issue, and that was concerns about our economic and employment state of STEM and computing jobs, right? We've seen data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that show within the next decade, they're forecasting or they're predicting over 9 million jobs in STEM and computing, and half of those jobs they're predicting that folks are going to need, students are going to need some kind of computing background to fill those jobs, right? And so we strongly felt, the College Board strongly felt that this was an important project to work on. It was important for us to be part of this national movement, to help address many of these concerns. So from the very beginning, we wanted to design APCS principles to be engaging with computer science content that was going to be relevant to students. At the same time, this course needs, we knew this course needed to be college level, a rigorous college level course. And in this way, then the AP program could now offer 2 college-level computer science courses. The existing Computer Science A course, which is a programming-focused course in Java. Students learn how to program and solve problems via programming in Java. And now we have a new AP Computer Science Principles course that includes, a broader range of computer science topics, including programming. Right, so there are a few things of the course that I want to highlight, and I would consider these as factors, to help address the concerns that I mentioned earlier, and also they're helping to break down barriers of misconceptions about studying computer science. Right, I want to highlight that. One is, this course does not specify one programming language, and I know that's different. All right, computer science teachers are saying, well, so what do I teach? Owen and Fran and others will probably be able to talk about many efforts out there that are helping teachers teach computer science principles without really focusing on the programming language. This is important because by not having a designated programming language, students can now be exposed to a variety of other introductory programming languages that are more engaging for students. Okay, and we think this will attract students to the course if they're able to learn how to program. Let's say if they're able to learn how to program using a block-based programming language, or languages that teach them to develop, simple apps. That in this way they'll engage with computer science content. They'll engage with learning programming in much more relevant and appropriate way. And another thing I want to say about this course is, because programming is one of 7 big ideas in this course, it allows students the opportunity to study other aspects of computer science, right? Like the internet, how it's built, how it works. That's very relevant for us in today's world. They also get to study the impact of computing on people and the world around them, right? We've also included a big idea on data, how computational processes can be applied to large sets of data, and to help promote new discoveries in technology and even medicine. So again, trying to make the course relevant and engaging for students. And the third that I want to highlight about this course is the assessment. It is a little different than our other typical AP exams, certainly different than the AP Computer Science A exam. There are 2 main components of the assessment. The first is a set of 2 performance tasks that students will complete during class every year. And the second is the end of course, typical paper pencil multiple choice exam that we'll administer in May. So that paper pencil exam is a multiple choice. You know, Fran is on the Hangout today. She's going to talk, or she'll be able to talk more about this and answer your questions. I'm going to leave that up to her to do that. But before we go there, I want to say a few more things. We decided to include performance tasks as part of the assessment, so that students have, you know, the experience of creating computational artifacts. That's really important in this course. We wanted students to be able to create things, right, with using a computer. So, for example, one of the performance tasks allows students to investigate a computing innovation, and they get to select what they want to investigate, right? They're going to have to write about it. They're going to have to submit things to the College Board, you know, for scoring purposes, but they're going to select, you know, their own innovation to investigate. And the other task allows students to develop a program of their choosing. Again, you know, they have the flexibility to select the topic or the nature of what that program is about. And we think that this flexibility in that assessment is, you know, is we're hoping that it will help increase student interest in taking the course, right? And we want to provide students the opportunity to learn rigorous computer science content, but also engage them in a different way so that, you know, they're making those choices in studying and learning about computer science. I think I'll just pause there, and you know, I'll leave it to Owen and Fran to share more details about the course content, you know, as needed. But I'm happy to answer any questions also. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, Lynn. So there are a lot of questions coming in, and Owen said he will mention a few of those when he's speaking as well, and then we'll come back and ask all three of you some of the ones that might be remaining. So I don't know, Owen or Fran, you want to take the next stab at some of these questions?
Yeah, Jeff, I'm going to continue on the assessment aspect of this. As Lynn said, the AP exam for CS principals is very different than the other AP exams. The exam has two parts, and the performance tasks will weight approximately 40% of the exam grade, and the objective questions the other 60%. And those two performance tasks right now are slated to be weighted 40% for the Explore, which is the investigate an innovation of your choosing, and 60% for the Create, which is more or less the programming performance task. The multiple choice questions are single select or multiple select, so the students will be selecting as normal multiple choice questions one correct answer out of a possibility of 4, or 2 correct answers out of a possibility of 4. Those questions will be based on the EKs in the curriculum framework, and everything is based on the learning objectives. The EKs, what I mean by EKs is essential knowledge statements. So when you look at the curriculum framework, we have learning objectives, which are the objectives that we are assessing. And then we take that down into levels, more specific levels, with the most specific being the essential knowledge statements. And the essential knowledge statements is what we expect the students to know when they leave the course or when they take the assessments for the course. So as a CS Principals instructor, what you need to be careful to do is to consider that curriculum framework your Bible, as most AP teachers look at the course description, and to really take the essential knowledge statements and understand that your students may be assessed on any of those essential knowledge statements. So find material and teach the material in those essential knowledge statements. When we get to the assessment questions, we can look at any big idea, and we can look at any learning objective in any big idea, and then take those essential knowledge statements and think about what types of objective questions can we ask. The big ideas of creativity and programming are more or less assessed in the performance task. Collaboration is assessed through the performance task, even though we can't witness that particular collaboration. Collaboration is a part of the create performance task. So these all the big ideas are assessed, but some are better assessed in the objective part of the test, and some are better assessed through the performance tasks. Lien spoke a little bit about the performance tasks and what's required, and we hope that students will, well, the instructors will encourage creativity. First of all, in the Explore, for the students to actually take an innovation that is of interest to them. And then in the Create, to really think about being creative in their development of programs. Students are, again, I think Lien might have mentioned this, but in the Explore, students are really supposed to understand their innovation. Really look at their innovation not only as, what do I have to do to use this innovation, but how does this innovation relate to computing? How does it work? Really, how does it work? And really think about an innovation rather than just thinking about just taking it for granted, and as a lot of us do with a lot of our innovations that we use daily. The Create PT about programming is, well, understand what algorithms you're writing in your program, and understand why you're using abstractions in your program, or you're writing abstractions within your program. Be able to explain your code. Did you write that code? Did you understand that code? Yes, you did. So now can you verbalize and explain what your code does?
Did we just lose Fran for a minute?
I think we may have lost Fran for a moment. See if the delay comes back. Hey,
Owen, I have a quick question. Do you think there is a question by Carolyn who thinks that could APCS be taught to talented 8th and 9th grade students? While we're waiting for Fran, maybe you could answer.
Oh,
Sure. Fran is back, yes.
So you missed everything?
No.
Oh, darn. No, okay, I don't know what you lost, but in Create, we asked the students to, I don't know what happened. I clicked no buttons. But in Create, we're asking students to create a video that of their program running, and to really explain, you know, what's in that video. How does their program work? So more or less, the student in both parts of the assessment is taking responsibility for their knowledge, for the knowledge gained in the course, where they're really going to have to do some evaluation of the concepts that they've actually learned, they've been taught, and they've learned in the course. I don't know what specific questions people might have about those two parts of assessments, but my suggestion would be, I think, Lien, you can confirm this, but there will be all sorts of materials available to the teachers. A practice test exam will be available, right, Lien? You want to talk a little bit about what's going to be available for the teachers in terms of assessment review as far as College Board goes?
Yeah, I'll just chime in very quickly. So the plan for AP Computer Science Principles as far as teacher support materials is, we will have sample questions in the new course and exam description that's going to be out next March for teachers. That'll include, you know, the contents you were talking about, Fran, regarding the curriculum framework, but we'll also have new sample test questions in that course and exam description. In addition, we are developing a full-blown practice exam for teachers, much like what we have with the APCSA course. Teachers who are course authorized can access a secured practice exam for that course. We'll have one for CS principals as well too. And then we'll have, additional teacher resources like course planning and pacing guides. We'll have several of those, actually 4 of those, that will help guide teachers with different implementations of the course. And all those resources are going to be available through those documents.
And the performance, the performance tasks, the most recent form of the performance tasks are posted in the AP teacher community, the pilot teacher community.
Yeah, that's right. I'm hoping that that'll be something that we get to discuss later during this hangout. Is maybe the AP CSP pilot teacher community, in addition to information about the CSP community.
Yeah, Lynn, that's the focus of our lesson coming out tonight. So we actually go out and navigate and show everybody that, and then Andy and Melissa will be giving a talk on that next Tuesday also. So it's we want to make sure everybody can find the resources and trying to equip them to find those.
That's great. That's great to hear.
So there was a question from Wesley. He asks, who's going to grade the performance tasks? So how will the like reading be done?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So the plan right now is to hold a face-to-face reading, similar to all of our other readings, and the submissions are going to be done digitally. So we'll have a submission process, ready for 2017, and as all of those documents get, organized, we'll hold a face-to-face reading. As far as who's going to read, we'll start really laying out the final plans for that in the upcoming year. But we think, we need high school teachers, we need college professors to help us score those performance tasks.
Then there's also a question about the audit syllabus and when that will need to be submitted. Do you want to take that one also?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So we are finalizing the curricular requirements for the course. So I know I keep referencing APCSA, but if you're an AP teacher, each course has a document called curricular requirements. So we have, AP Computer Science A curricular requirements. We will also have AP Computer Science Principles curricular requirements. And based on those requirements, we'll ask teachers to develop their syllabus and submit it for the course audit, beginning in March of 2016. That window will open. It'll stay open for 11 months. So through, the following January or February. Teachers will have the opportunity to submit their syllabus, have it reviewed, and get it, course authorized. All that means is that once your syllabus gets authorized, then your students will be able to receive the AP label on that principal's course in your school.
Lynn, Carolyn also would like to know if the syllabus will need to be, will the audit of the syllabus need to be approved before they can access the sample questions?
So all teachers will be able to access sample questions on the course and exam description in March of 2016. The secured practice exam, teachers will need to go through the course audit and get course authorized before they can access the secured practice exam, because that's always accessible behind course audit. I hope that helped answer that question.
Thanks, Lynn. That was very useful.
So maybe Owen can say a few words to us, and then we'll address some of the other questions that may be coming in.
Sure, I'm happy to do that. I was just going to first echo one of the things that Lynn said when she talked about how we've worked on this project for almost 7 years and how exciting it is to see it coming to fruition in 2016, 2017, and people piloting it now that will kind of help launch that in the year. And also echo one of the things she said, which is that this course is one of 2 AP courses, and this one is not just a programming course, it's much more, and those 7 big ideas that were mentioned are kind of key in thinking about how to formulate the course that you're going to teach. I think Fran and I both teach courses at the university level that are related to computer science principles courses, for which perhaps a student would get credit when they took a CS Principles exam in 2016 or 2017. And one of the nice things about CS Principles in terms of the programming language, and remember that programming is just one of the 7 big ideas, it's not the only big idea, is the language won't matter in terms of getting credit or placement for the course. If you take a computer science principles course using Python or Scratch or Snap or JavaScript, any one of those will allow you to complete the performance task, the create performance task in which you program, and will help you be able to do the multiple choice questions that are programming related. So it's possible to have a course in which you program right from the beginning that's a computer science principles course, and it's possible to have a course where you don't program until partway through the course because you're studying something else. That's kind of one of the exciting things that makes computer science principles stand out as different from the AP Computer Science A course, where you have to use Java because that's the language that's required. You could use Java in computer science principles if you wanted to. I think we will see a lot of block-based languages, Scratch, Snap, other block languages as well. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out when the course actually launches. In terms of when you are ready to take this course, I want to remind people that this is an AP course, Advanced Placement. That's a college credit or placement course that you take in high school. And not every student is ready for an AP experience when they are in high school. Most students take AP exams as juniors and seniors. Now, there are always exceptions to students that take exams earlier, depending on what their abilities and interests are. But there are other computer science courses that are not AP courses that students in 8th grade would probably be ready to take, and more ready than an AP course. There are always students that are very young that are ready for all kinds of experience. But the College Board will tell you that not every high school student is ready for an AP course, and students in 9th grade, when they're trying to get used to high school and all that entails, as well as coping with all the other changes in their lives that are outside of school, sometimes have a hard time thinking, maybe an AP course is the right course for me. It's not, AP Computer Science Principles is not a course that's a prerequisite for APCSA. We've had pilot teachers that take APCSA first and then take a Computer Science Principles course, and the other way around. So it's not as though there's a sequence of courses that must be followed. And we all anticipate that Computer Science Principles will increase the number of students that take computer science courses that might major in computer science, especially broadening participation among women and underrepresented groups. And because of that, probably APCSA might see an increase in enrollment because of CS Principles, especially students that really get taken by the programming aspects and decide that they want to study programming more in depth. And we probably will see some APCSA students that think, wow, I realize perhaps that there's more to computer science than programming, so I might want to study that in high school and college as well. So both of these courses, I think, will feed into each other. There are other courses besides the AP courses, and if there are questions about those, I'm sure all of us can answer them. I think I've covered most of the questions that were in the sidebar that I saw about language, and just want to make clear that you're going to hear later about resources that are available for teachers on CS10K community and the AP community that's sponsored by College Board. And we'll try to make sure that links to all of those are on csprinciples.org, which is the kind of the non-College Board site that we'll work to maintain links to so people can find what they're looking for more easily. I think there's one question here about, are any of these teacher resources available now? If there is this purple book, AP Computer Science Principles, that you can find online on the College Board site. I think you can download that now, and some of the resources are in there. It will be a little dated soon when their new version comes out, but it's a fabulous resource now, and the color is absolutely wonderful.
Thanks, Owen. Wesley asks, I think doing code reviews could be a good way to encourage kids to do. I just lost it. I'm sorry. Could be a good way to encourage kids to collaborate. Why don't we use kids to use version control tools earlier? Fran, do you want to take that one?
Well, is this for David or who?
Wesley.
Wesley. Anyway, you can encourage kids to collaborate, and assignments would be a good start. As far as when do you do this, it should be, I mean, it should. I hate to use that word should, but the more you do it, the more this becomes part of the student's ability to do work with others. So we would strongly suggest that there's lots of forms of collaboration, and we would strongly suggest that your students in the CSP course collaborate on assignments or on both programming assignments and maybe even other assignments prior to the delivery of the performance task. You would never want that to be the first assignment that they are experiencing any form of collaboration. So, I would suggest maybe having experiences with different types of collaboration in the classroom prior to the delivery of the performance tasks.
Great.
I'm sorry, this is Lien. I want to jump in there and emphasize Fran's suggestion for teachers to consider providing lots of good learning opportunities for students, lots of experiences with the performance tasks prior to an official administration of the performance tasks. We definitely agree. I think I for sure agree with you, Fran. We do not want students to engage in the performance task just once and then submit that work to the College Board, right? I think as part of teacher resources and communications and PD, we want to emphasize that teachers provide lots of learning experiences with the content in the performance task prior to students engaging with them officially in an official capacity.
One more thing about I know your question was about collaboration, but and we say experiences before the performance task, but this goes for other parts of the performance tasks. The students will have to respond to prompts in writing. So writing is a key element to both of the performance tasks. You would certainly want to expose your students to assignments that involve similar types of questions throughout your course so that they don't experience these questions for the first time upon delivery of the performance tasks. And Deepa, I see a question here posted about CSP for 8th and 9th graders, and I think Owen answered that. Mm-hmm. And I believe the College Board, and Lien, you can kind of tune in here, that an AP exam can't be taken in 8th grade because it's not high school. Is that logistically correct, Lien?
Yeah, I mean, we have not heard of middle schoolers taking AP exams very often. I'm sure it has happened, but those are some very rare students that are given the exceptions, right, to be able to do that. Most of our AP students, generally speaking, most of our AP students are 11th and 12th graders. There are some courses, that are more accessible at the lower 9th and 10th grade levels, just depending on the course. But we do want to emphasize that there should be adequate preparation for students, prior to taking any AP course. And CS Principles is not the exception. We do want students to be prepared for, the rigorous content and learning for this course. And Fran, also, you might want to, I just wanted to chime in on something else that you said, you know, that it is important for students to really understand some of the major concepts you've highlighted in the exam and in the performance tasks. You know, we would like to provide as much support as needed or as possible so that teachers can help their students become or be successful in the course and the exam.
Can I weigh in on one of the questions here for a minute, Deepa? One of the questions is about an AB course that could a course that used to be an AB course be folded into CS Principles, and there's been some traffic on one of the CSTA listservs from David Malin at Harvard, who's going to turn his CS50 course, which is a C programming course, into a computer science principles course. So I think you'll see a few things here, that the flexibility of the CS Principles curriculum can allow you to do almost anything in preparing your students for the course. But an AB course, kind of by its very nature, would have other courses as prerequisites, and CS Principles is designed to be a first course in computer science that students don't have to have a programming prerequisite for it. Now, at some schools, it might mean that computer science principles could be a course that is a follow-on course because that's the way the school is structured, and it could be that the AB course is in there, or it's a very hardcore programming-centric course. The Project Lead the Way course is much more programming-centric than, say, some of the other CS Principles curricula that are out there. So I think the very flexibility of the curriculum framework allows many approaches, and could allow that. You want to keep, I hope, something in mind that CS Principles was designed to increase the diversity of the students taking computer science, and so to the extent that you can keep that foremost in what you're doing, you'll be adhering to the principles of CS Principles. But many courses could be used as the basis for a computer science principles course. As Fran mentioned, there'll be a considerably more writing, almost for sure, than in your typical AB course.
Oh, thanks, Owen. That was very well taken. Fran, go right ahead.
I just want to also stress what Owen said earlier, in that this is a college-level course, and we expect college-level responses from the students. So, you know, does a ninth grader have a maturity to write answers to these questions as a college-level student would have? That's that's the question that I would ask.
Okay. Lien, I know you had mentioned earlier about the language requirement, APCSP not being on a specific language. But Richard has a slightly different question. He says that they used Python for CSP, and is there any requirements that a particular language should have? And then this component of programming, like Owen mentioned, it's only one of the big ideas, but how will that component be assessed in the exam? So that I thought, thank you, Richard, for the question, and Lien, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so another excellent question. I think in terms of the programming languages that students can use in the performance tasks, that is up to them, right? We imagine that students will use whatever programming language they are learning in the classroom to apply on that performance task. In terms of the multiple choice and of course AP exam, the development committee has decided to provide snippets of pseudocode that teachers and students can, become familiar with during the school year. We absolutely, let me just say there are two main purposes for that exam reference. So this is going to be an exam reference with pseudocode that students will apply on the AP exam. The number one reason for deciding to develop an exam reference is for assessment purposes. The development committee felt like, the AP program and ETS also agreed that an exam reference would serve as a very useful tool to develop a successful exam for this course. And the other reason is that we want students to be successful on this course, so we wanted to provide them with a resource that they can use, you know, in being successful on the exam. It's not meant to be a complete pseudocode language, and we certainly don't want to emphasize that this is, you know, a brand new language that students have to learn, you know, for classroom or instructional purposes. It's simply for the use for on the AP exam.
Great, Lynn. Thank you so much. That was a very, very valuable information. Fran, this comes back right to you. Wesley feels that his question was not really answered because it was not so much focused on collaboration as much the technical aspects. Shouldn't we teach kids about open source software in APCSP? That is, what do you think of the idea of teaching kids on how to use Git, like GitHub? So, Owen, the floor is yours too.
As I mentioned earlier, I think you can take many skills and make them part of what you do in computer science principles. There's certainly no requirement that students in the CS Principles course learn how to contribute to open source projects. I think you'll find that in the essential knowledge statements, understanding open source is mentioned, but using Git and checking projects in and out and working collaboratively that way could be a great example for how to get some of the collaborative ideas across, but certainly isn't required in any sense. So I think we'd like to leverage the passion and interests of all the teachers that are out there interested in computer science principles. And if what you'd like to do is use Git and structure at least some aspects of your course around open source and free software, I think that would be great. And I think it does lend itself, the idea of open source software and free software does lend itself to studying many parts of the essential knowledge statements in the curriculum framework, but it's not a requirement. That's, again, I think the great flexibility of the CS Principles framework allows many approaches to be used rather than kind of limiting it to one approach. That may have been not exactly responsive, but I hope it was.
I think it was, and I'm sure Wesley will let us know because he's right here reading it very extensively. There is this question, and I'm going to go ahead and read it. And I'm assuming, even though it's being posted here, it's for everybody who's participating in the Piazza discussion. But David says he is creating a summer blended learning video design game program that he wants to integrate the computer science principles. He really would like to get as many teacher resources as available so that he can sequence it properly. He is wondering if anybody would be there to review his experimental curriculum. And I'm assuming I'm going to take that and post it on the general area for you, David, because I'm sure there are many people who would be happy to review the curriculum for you when you have some time. This has been an amazingly well received. We had close to 40 viewers at one point watching this video. I'm going to hand it over to Jeff to have any questions, and I'm going to monitor it for some more questions, and I'm sure we'll all have some more. We've got 15 more minutes, and I'm sure we'll have some more questions to answer.
Yeah, so I think what we'll ask Lynn, Fran, and Owen to maybe give us a final statement, maybe some encouragement or some words to say to a lot of teachers who are, some of the teachers will be watching this archived on YouTube, not so much live, and a lot of our teachers are really new to computer science. So what kind of encouragement or words would you give to them as they start moving into down this computer science principles path as first-time instructors of CS?
I'll start. Download the Purple Book. That would be my first recommendation. And also, if you are completely new to this and you do download the Purple Book and you start looking through it, this is not a course where you teach unit by unit by unit. You can't start with page 1 of the Purple Book and do one topic and then the next and then the next. This is a blended course. So many of these topics are taught simultaneously together. They're so related. And you obviously took the first correct step, and that is signing up for a MOOC like this, where you can really get information that will help you as a first-time teacher through this course. It will help you learn about how these topics are blended with each other. It's a fun course. I mean, I teach it at the university level, and the kids walk away saying that they learned about all of the things that they just took for granted before. So the kids really, really do enjoy the course, and keep that in mind. And the idea is for you to have fun teaching it as well.
Owen or Lien, any last comments to our teachers?
Yeah, so I'll go next, and I will say I also have a Purple Book too. I pretty much carry that with me everywhere I go, and will tell you that the more you become familiar with the course content and the kind of thinking practices, computational thinking practices that we want to emphasize in the course, the more you'll benefit from it. And I think once you start having fun with the course, like Fran mentioned, that you're going to see some really, really neat, interesting things from your students. I've done a couple of classroom observations in some of our pilot sites, and let me tell you, the students, obviously everywhere, students will follow the teacher, but the students are really thinking about computer science much differently than how many of you that have been in the field have experienced it. So what I'm trying to say is that students are experiencing the world around them related to computer science in a much different way than we have. And I think this course really tries to get at what is more relevant for students, what is more meaningful for them, and really trying to grasp their attention and their potential, really, to impact our world, through studying computer science. And I really do believe that this course helps, aims at that.
Lynn, Richard did have a quick one. He was wondering how could he get some examples or clarification on the flavor of the digital artifacts. What kind of artifacts should they be? Animation, Arduino projects? I'm assuming he is referring to the Explore Performance Diaz.
Yeah, so what we're planning to do is provide some sample student work very soon. It's probably going to take us, maybe another couple of months, but by the end of the summer, we're hoping to have a few sample students work from each of the performance tasks that we can, post online. So that is in the works. We're just going to have to work really fast on that and get that out as soon as we can later this summer.
I guess I'm supposed to say a couple of follow-up things, and I'd want to remind people about how many good resources there are available as this Computer Science Principles course begins compared to, for example, when Fran and I first taught AP Computer Science A, which wasn't A then, it was just the whole AB course, in 1984. There were not at all as many resources, and the College Board, under Lynn's guidance and Fran's leadership on the development committee, and Jeff and Deepa working on courses like this, have provided all kinds of resources for the community. And taking advantage of those is key in understanding what's going on, both for teachers experienced in computer science to use computer science principles and the curriculum framework to craft a course that meets with their own preferences, and for brand new teachers to use some of the resources to jump into the field that way rather than using just programming as the vehicle for studying computer science. It's very exciting.
Deepa, do you have any final thoughts to share from your own experience?
As a pilot instructor, I will say, come on aboard, join the fun. It's been a great ride so far.
Okay. Well, I also have my purple book. Mine's actually a little bit bigger. I printed it out in full form. So for those of you on the MOOC, lesson 1.5, we're going to visit the apcsprinciples.org site and navigate and show you some of that. We're going to go to the teacher community site. We'll also go out to the CS10K site, and we'll show you where to go to find those places, where to find the resources, and then we'll follow that up next Tuesday with Andy and Melissa also going into that in a little bit more detail from their own experiences, kind of the curators of some of those communities. So we thank you all for joining us. So Lien, Fran, and Owen, thanks for joining us, and Deepa, thanks for your help. And for those of you who were listening, we hope to see you again on the MOOC and all of your long posts over the weekend. So thank you, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, thanks.